Okay, we are back to the 2025 year in review, much like we did for 2024. This year we've actually made a bit of an upgrade. We're doing it in Notion now. So I'll take you guys through all of the year, basically, and like how everything went. Really good year all in all. Year in which I learned a hell of a lot. And yeah, I'll go through some of that and see how that all panned out. I've actually got two screens now as well, so I've made a massive upgrade in life in general. So we'll go into this now. So I'll go through month by month, much like I did in 2024, and just go through this for anyone who happens to care, right? Obviously, a bit of a self-indulgent video, but whatever. So it kind of starts in December. I had like a really good Christmas connecting with family. For anyone who's not from Ireland, the way the culture sort of is in Ireland around Christmas for me is fantastic because when you're from a small town in particular, as I am, what happens is most people who you grew up with, at least when they're in their 20s, for the most part, don't actually live there. So they live in Dublin, in the capital, or they live in London, or they might live in Australia, or the US, or whatever. Generally speaking, maybe a lot of them do stay in Ireland, but they don't really stay in your hometown. So there are a couple of nights at Christmas which are the best nights of the year because you see everyone that you grew up with. And that for me, it kind of rejuvenates me. I love going back home for Christmas. And yeah, like being in my hometown is amazing. And when I'm in Ireland, obviously a lot of the time I'm in Dublin, and then a decent portion of the year, a couple of months anyway, I'm in Madrid. So yeah. January, I was actually just chatting about this on a call with a friend of mine, like literally before this video. January can often be a month where you acquire a lot of clients, but you lose some clients because it's just a switchy time of year. It's a time in which people switch their agencies, and you can often wind up just about like net the same, But we had very low churn in January. Currently, it's only the 8th of January, but touch wood, we don't seem to be having any churn in January, and we've signed 3 clients thus far in the first 8 days. So looking really well for the agency. We did this in Madrid early in the year with some of our team members, just rebuilding our SOPs and training systems, literally in my business partner's Airbnb at the time. And I had come out of 2023 and 2024 kind of like traveling the world. I was like 24, 25, traveling around, doing months in, wherever in Colombia, then going to Marbella, then I was in Dubai, and then I'm in, I don't know where that sound is coming from, Jesus. I've heard that sound about 3 times today. I don't know what app that's coming from. Travel around to Argentina for 3 months, and then I'm in San Diego, and I'm in all of these different places. And I think after that I just really crave stability. And like what happens when you're moving around all the time is quite a bit of your RAM in your brain is just taken up by like, where am I going to go next? It's like that kind of an issue. Let me make myself bigger here. It's like that kind of a thing. You're like, where will I go next? And it's like too much of your processing power is taken up by that. So my thing for 2025 was let's not move too much. So I had a lot of skiing then in February, which was really cool. I had this après ski theme party here in Spain with some of my friends. This is fucking sick. And then I went to Cervinia, which is a place in Italy where the Matterhorn mountain is. So you have like Italy and the Swiss border right there. Yeah, I mean, really sick. I hadn't been skiing since I was a child. The first day I was fucking terrible. Jesus. I was so bad. But yeah, I mean, we were yeah, it was a really, really good holiday and really good to go away with the family. However, I'm actually going back to Germany in February, and learning from last year, we just hired 2 new account managers in our agency. This holiday could have been a lot better, but like we grew too quick in January and we were stretched too thin, and really like it was just kind of I mean, mismanagement, to be honest, in terms of my communication to my co-founder and to our senior staff in terms of how many people we needed to hire. So we signed a few clients right before I went away, and I was just stressed managing everything. Everything went okay, but it wasn't the most rejuvenating trip. And so this year we're getting those staff members trained up well ahead of time, and we're also just working with way nicer clients. Since I've started doing the podcast and stuff like that and started my own e-commerce brands, we're really good at email marketing and SMS marketing and lifecycle for like Chad Scaler brands, because like we prune all of their softwares all of the time. We keep the main things, and they're clients who often just want you to let it rip. So like they're not really high maintenance clients. These are guys who are doing millions a month, and they're just like, look, just let it rip. they love ad creative and hate emails, so they just let you do your thing. So I think the way we've positioned the business and how we've hired and how we've trained our team now, is a lot better. It's actually so funny, out of some of our team, like most of their brands are on Checkout Champ and not Shopify, so we've trained them up to deal with all that kind of fucking headache that comes with that software. So March anyway, had some cool milestones here. So we had back-to-back record months actually for March, April and May, which was great. And I started to like pay myself a little bit more and to actually do some S&P investing and stuff and just let my money work for me. And I actually bought myself a Rolex. I don't have it with, actually I do have it back here. And is like quite a special Rolex actually. You know, it's not like kind of a kind of played out, you know, Rolex that everyone has, like the kind of similar date just with the blue dial, or you know, a Hulk or like a Batman or Batgirl or whatever. Like this is, you know, I actually have friends with those watches, so it's not me having to dig at those, I just realized. But you know, it's a very unique kind of watch, and so yeah, really cool watch. And yeah, I've never seen anyone with one quite like that. I love how there are no numerals as well. It was actually funny, right, when I invested a load into the S&P, it was when all the tariffs came out, or at least when some tariff updates came out. So like Trump just rogued me, and I remember thinking, fuck bro, I just invested and now I'm down. So yeah, I mean, I think the big thing here that like I think fucked us going into summer was I started to slow down a little bit with content creation, and that made our acquisition over summer pretty poor. So we could have actually grown a lot more this year. We had a very good year though, you know, in terms of the business, and actually a new business that we're starting here. So yeah, unrealized P&L. It's so funny. I just put it into Interactive Brokers because I'm sure some people might ask about that. That's the app. I just pick, you know, NASDAQ and, you know, the S&P 500. You'll be fine. One huge win of this year, sorry for my narcissism here, right? And I was actually just chatting with this friend right before this. We had a really good chat. We always have really good chats. But we were talking about why so many people don't have kids these days and why they're not in relationships. And I actually got into a relationship in 2025, which is, you know, going fantastically, like absolutely fantastically. And I was kind of thinking about this issue. It's a very prescient issue for me because of how last year went. And at the root of it, I think it's actually quite simple. I think a lot of self-improvement stuff just leads to narcissism in it, and it doesn't actually lead to people being net better off. Yes, you'll live longer if you train in the gym. That much is certain. If you put on more muscle mass, you will certainly live longer. No doubt about that. But you could actually say in other areas of life that it makes people worse off. You could very much argue that point. And you know, I think I've done a good job of just training 3 days a week, not really caring about it, and just implementing a system that will make me stronger on all of the big movements. And I'm stronger than I've ever been, by quite some margin, and pretty lean. And then just, you know, some months you'll eat a little bit more and your training won't go as well, and then you'll get into some months where you just, especially when you're like me and you've been training for 12 13 years, you will just, it all just evens out in the long run. You'll then have some months where you're loving the gym and you're loving, you know, being really dialed with it, and your sleep's really good, and then at the end of the year it all just nets out somewhere. And not stressing about it for me has been a huge part of this. Right, I'm not in like insane shape, don't get me wrong, but you have to bear in mind I'm 6'4" and I'm naturally quite skinny. It's been a slog for me to get to this point, and yeah, I mean, you know, I do 3 days a week, 40 minutes, and you know, I do think a lot of people, it actually breaks my heart somewhat when I see some people in Gymshark here who clearly do legs push pull twice a week and spend 2 hours in the gym each time, who are worried because their calves aren't big enough, and you know, think that that's going to prevent them from getting a girlfriend. And it's like that used to be me, like that genuinely used to be me. And so I think the gym is very much a horseshoe, where in the sense that not doing any of it massively detracts from your life. Doing just enough of it to like continue progressing and making your body stronger, and there's a very small effective dose there, is massively beneficial to your life. And then if you train too much and you're too into it, and I think this comes on very early. I think if you go to the gym even 5 days a week, it's too much over time, unless you love it. But like a lot of people actually don't love it. They just have body dysmorphia and like convince themselves that they love it. Not to sound horrible, right? But it just is the case. I've been there. You know, it can be massively beneficial to your life. So for me, just not stressing about it, I mean, stronger than I've ever been. I'm doing like pull-ups with like 35 kg dangling from my waist and like going all the way extended arm, and my arms are, I'm built like Mr. Tickles, as you can see. And yeah, I mean, even, you know, on incline bench doing like 45 kg dumbbells for easy reps, which is, I don't know, what's that, like 99 pounds dumbbells. Someone as long as me shouldn't be doing that, training 3 days a week, but you know, this is one of the huge wins of this year. Also, I'll go into this as well, like, you know, on the point of this making your life expectancy longer and stuff like that, the single best thing you can do, just on that point, because you might be like, oh, what's he saying about life expectancy? The single best thing you can do for your health long term is, and I mean, for all cause mortality, for avoiding brain disease, for avoiding organ disease, for avoiding genuinely everything you could possibly think of, is to put on more muscle mass. And even from your day-to-day benefit, your muscle consumes so many calories, so you can eat more food and not put on weight. And I was kind of thinking of this much like in a financial sense. You know, if you work the right way, you could have the hard work portion of your life done by 30 or 32 or 35, you know, very, very easy. That's very realistic for a hell of a lot of people. And if you don't focus on your finances and you spend it all on beer and, you know, chasing women and, you know, on frivolous things, on status, you basically create a 50-year slog ahead of yourself. Like the rest of your life the rest of your life gets absolutely destroyed by it. And a similar thing in the gym. I mean, I reached a point of the hard work portion of my life in the gym being done by the time I was 20. And now I will never put on weight unless I like genuinely try to do so. It's actually hard for me to bulk, so I'll never develop excess body fat. You know, put more simply, I'll never get fat. And you know, I'm far less likely. It's not to say, you know, hopefully, God willing, nothing strikes me down the next year. I'm going to get to this in a point of like a close friend of mine who died last year, which was really difficult. You know, God willing, you know, hopefully not. You know, I'm far less likely to have something strike me down. So, maybe comment down below if you're interested in seeing an entrepreneur's way of training in the gym, because I literally do 3 days a week, 40 minutes. It's really enjoyable. It's intense, but it's enjoyable. And like, you know, I actually look forward to the next session. It's like the perfect dose. And I've refined this over like 10 years. So if you guys want to know about that, if you're not so into the gym, I can make that video and it could massively improve your quality of life. So let me know if that's interesting for anyone here. If it can help even one person, I'll do it. April to June. So I dictated all this shit out and I put it into Claude. If some of this reads weird, please forgive me. But like, I wanted to get this video out. And I still think it has come out good. But like, some of this stuff might sound a bit like, you know, a bit weird. This is all me, but it's me put through AI, you know, to format it properly. Met my girlfriend. That was like, this was cool. Like, I don't maybe I don't want to like share too much of this online, but like, first time that I ever went on a date with someone, and then like the next day I'm like trying to work and I'm so focused on Mondays, and it was a Sunday that I had the date with her, and my head was just like frazzled. It's a pretty interesting experience. It's kind of like, it was like my limbic system like took over. It just, I couldn't stop thinking about this person, and like it like massively affected the quality of the work. I just didn't get much done that day, I don't think. So yeah, like just great mutual feelings from the beginning. Really, really wholesome stuff. Like, so similar in so many things. And yeah, I had a Miami trip, so like we met up like probably 5 times before I like went to Miami, or like I don't know how many times we met up, but yeah, like just wanted to spend as much time together as we could before I went. Went to Miami. Miami's sick, bro. So I went to Commerce Roundtable. This is Nick Shackelford's event. Nick Shackelford's a fucking legend, bro. He's the man, bro. It's just like, charisma doesn't even describe it. He just oozes charisma. He's just got charisma coming out. He's got charisma coming out of all his orifices, you know, out of all his pores and shit, you know. Don't know about that one. But yeah, so we go there, and I could see myself living in Miami for a year, to be fair. Obviously I live in Madrid. I have like lots of Latino friends. I speak Spanish and stuff, so like, it was so weird being in the US and like Spanish being the first language. It was wild. It was wild being to like a highly developed Latin American city, and it is a Latin American city, man. I love Latinos. You know, absolutely love Latinos. So met my friend Ben Bader. Man, this is gonna be one of my 2 points here, man. One is that I just fucking miss my friend. He passed away on my birthday on the 23rd of October. So this is the first and only time we'd ever meet. We were friends for 5 years. And like, my big regret here, he'd be on it, is like, I've completely changed my perspective on taking pictures. I want to take pictures for everything now as I go on. Anytime I'm somewhere, I want to be like a cringe boomer woman on Facebook. That's what I want to be like now. And like to be like, hold on guys, let me get a picture, and people be like, oh, what are you getting pictures for? I want to be that person from now on, because I just don't take life to be a given, you know. Ben was just so charismatic, bro. Like, I mean, so we go into this place in Brickell, which is his favorite place here, and like all these like waitresses and people working there, he's just cracking them up, and you could see like he hadn't been there in a little while, and they were like, oh, like we haven't seen you around here in a while, like you got to come back more often. Like you see, they loved him. That was the thing about Ben, man. He just made you feel 10 feet tall. Oh, Ben, God rest your soul, my brother. I love you to bits. Met up with a load of clients here, rolled around in the Rolls Royce with the guys. Johnny, what a fucking legend. Like, Johnny's one of the best guys in e-commerce, and super smart guy as well, even though he'll never call himself that. So come back to Ireland. Something weird was happening at this point in my mind, right? So I could have picked a better picture. I'm just rubbing my nose like this here. I'm not fucking picking my nose on stage. Jesus, I could have picked a better image here. We spoke at this e-commerce event in Belfast. Some really cool brands were there. We went like really in depth on the presentation. Not like, you know, where you go to one of these events and it's just like self promo. We just wanted to like provide a shitload of value to people, and we did, and like we gave them loads of free stuff and free calculators and stuff like that. And I think people really responded to that. I hate, like, you know, this, once again, like it's valid, right? Someone goes there and like they give you a bit of value, but they're really there to promote their services. Look, they gave you value, right? So I get it. But I wanted people to come out of there and be like, all right, this was sick. Like this was like this. These guys, like, they gave us a lot in that presentation, and you know, it definitely worked. And you know, she has some of our clients here in the crowd, like some of our already existing clients, which is cool. Came back to Madrid for a bit, kept heavy investing, and stuff like that. Like Louis, whenever he's back in Madrid, it's great to be back in Madrid. Such a legend. Went clubbing after this. I can't post some of the pictures that we have, but it was sick. Probably had about 20 canyons. Louis was on the podcast recently. We spoke about this night out. Can't put the images out. It was like a rogue night out. I actually had mad hay fever before this. We had to go to a pharmacy, and I was looking like Bear Grylls after he got stung by a bee. It was fucked. Go to Barcelona. Afterwards, Barcelona, right? So we're going to do an ecom mastermind in Barcelona. If anyone's into that, we're going to do this in June. Drop a comment below as well. Just let me know. Cause I want to make it a list of like 30, 40, just brand owners, no sponsors, no pitching, no nothing. Just like a good crew of people. This is me playing Uno with a few friends down on the beach. Wholesome activities. Barcelona, man, right? So like I've spent a good bit of time in Barcelona, and I have such mixed feelings on it as a city. It is an amazing, like, it's a tier 1 city for 3 days. That's what I would say. It's incredible for 3 days. And then afterwards you're like, oh fuck, like you start to really see the cracks in the place. There's like, I don't blame this as well, right? Like, I mean, I get this kind of being like an Irish person sometimes, but like sometimes the history, you know, we have as a country, but like some of the kind of like Catalanism can sometimes give it a little bit of a weird vibe to the place. Dangerous topic. But you know, I get it, man. There's so many, like what the Spanish call guiris, right? Guiri. I'm a guiri. You probably watching this are also a guiri. It's like the Spanish word for gringo. It sort of means like someone from Northern Europe, you know, who's there. It means like an Irish person, English person, a Dutch person, you know, a Scandinavian person who comes down to Barcelona or comes down to Spain, and you know they you know stay there the exact same, and they just live their way in Barcelona, or you know anywhere in Spain, but like you know like guiris are everywhere in Barcelona, and not as much in other parts of Spain. I feel like Barcelona, man, fuck, just to say this, Barcelona in 2010 would have been the best city in the world. I think, like, for a brief period, because you got to bear in mind, this is like the Pep Guardiola era of Barcelona Football Club as well. It would have been insane, man. You know, it was before you had shitloads of guiris there. It was before it kind of got a little bit dirty and like got like poor governance that like makes the city a bit like unkempt. And then before a lot of people arrived from, how to say this, before a lot of people arrived from places that tend to not behave themselves that well when they get to Europe. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's a city in decadence to me, and Madrid on the other hand is booming. So yeah, partying, beach. You don't have many cities with like a city beach there. So yeah, pretty sick. And yeah, had like a rogue day in the pints here with like some of my friends here, which other images that we can't share. I probably had like 20 cañas. Like a caña is like nowhere near as big as a pint, so it's probably like 10 pints, maybe like 12 pints or something. My ability to metabolize alcohol as well is insane. So I actually I'm 27. I still don't get hangovers. Very grateful for that. Stock portfolio starts doing. I only have losses in this, but like I do actually look. If I were to look in like, bro, any of you guys watching this, please, any of you guys who are in online business, please do not fucking just piss your money away on different whatever, down $1,880 today, but like up a lot overall. Please do not piss away your money. Please just invest whatever it is. Just get an Interactive Brokers account. Please invest away, because the compounding here is very real. And like, once again, if you do this right, you only have to do it once, man. You only have to do it once. So, it's actually like, I look at the amount of interest I earned like in the last year. It's fucked. It genuinely doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, around this time, right? So we start like a new venture. We started doing an AI agency. AI is booming, obviously, as we all know. But like, I'll get to this in a point. But like, it just winds up with people building like fucking useless N8N workflows for companies. Not to be like really negative and cynical about the industry, but that is largely what it is. AI, right? Compared to like e-com or agency in general, like let's say like AI agency. And I don't want to have too much of a go at people, but I'm just calling it as I see it. I do not know a single person in AI who is not making the vast majority of their money from info. Like, not a single person. And you might say, oh, well, like people sell dropshipping courses and shit like that, and like they're making most of their money. Yeah, but like equally, Nate Schmidt, anyone who's in like the e-com space will know who he is. Nate Schmidt, when he actually stopped being a guru, and he's printing. We did a little bit of work for one of his brands recently. He is printing with his brand. Well, actually, he has 3 brands, and like one of them's mega printing, and then like he has 2 others that are still printing pretty hard. He is like he stopped being a guru because he realized he could make more money in e-com, and now he's just like printing. He's probably doing anywhere from like okay, I don't want to say his numbers, but he's making a lot of profit, right? Basically, is just what I'll say. And he's literally said, I stopped selling courses and stopped selling info and stuff because I realized I could make more money long term in ecom. I know agency guys doing over $1 million a month. I know agency guys who run super lean agencies and they're personally profiting fuckloads, like 100k a month personally and stuff like that. Who don't get me wrong, they're the focal point, and you have to be a real hard worker to make that business work long term. But like, there are people doing that. I don't know anyone doing it in ecom. See, this is like the AI shit coming out here. Sorry about this. Anyways, went to Istanbul with like a new business partner. This isn't him. This is some of my old friends. I used to live in Istanbul. I lived in Istanbul for a summer back when I was 20. Fucking special city, bro. Istanbul is past decadence. It's even like, it's gone even beyond that, to be honest. I don't know, like if you had good management there and good governance, fuck, bro, like it would be it's the natural center of the world. I think it was like Gustave Flaubert, and like he's obviously a very famous French painter and writer, but maybe not a lot of guys in econ maybe aren't that cultured. Not being a cunt, but like just probably not into that kind of thing. But he said if the world were one country, Istanbul would be the capital. Fucking banging line. And you feel that it's like a city. There's something very special about Istanbul because it's like a conflicted city. It's like a city with like gender dysmorphia or something, to put it that way, right? And I will explain this topic. It's a city that can't decide what it is, right? It's a city with its head in the west but its heart in the east. That's how I would put it. God, man, I mean, even when I hear the word Istanbul, I just get chills. It's just like, wow, Istanbul. Some of the things I experienced there when I was, just 20 years old. This is my best friend back from that summer. What a legend. Shout out Atakan. Met one of our team members there as well, who's actually from there. Absolute legend as well. So like, yeah, this is me, my business partner at the agency, and absolute legend. Anyways, come back. Irish American friend, Mr. Dan Crowley. A lot of you guys know who he is. You know, to me, like, I hope, all right, if there are any Irish Americans watching this, and I don't know if you guys have seen any of this like stupid shit that like some Irish people are like posting on Twitter as of late, but I just want to like put a pin in this. The vast majority of Ireland, right? The vast majority of Ireland looks at Irish Americans as Irish. I just want to like put this topic in here, and a lot of like the issues I see going on in Ireland, I actually think about Irish Americans and think of the sadness of like, you know, them not having. How can I put this? Right, it is as much their home as it is mine. It's their spiritual home. It's their ancestral home, and I love seeing Irish Americans go to Ireland and really connecting with that and like the feeling that they have there. And even if you see some idiots on Twitter, especially like their one post recently about the whole like Venezuela thing. I don't want to put myself too much into these topics already. You know, I've made a couple of comments in this video, but like, we just love Americans in general in Ireland, and there's a very special connection between the two countries, I feel. But like, you know, Irish Americans especially, like, you know, like this is my friend Evan, he's Irish. Like this is like this is three Irish guys having a fucking beer together. Like this is what is happening here. And like anytime Dan is around, it's a fucking great time. So yeah, like had a great time with everyone. Oh yeah, I said one of the best years ever in the gym. That's great. Spoke at a mastermind here again. This is actually in Barcelona. Once again, mixed feelings about the city. I continued YouTube videos for like the AI business. Became official with my girlfriend. Went to like I picked some bad images of myself. This is a wedding that I went to. This is actually Tipperary, where I'm from in Ireland. This was the semi-final. Watching this in the pub, and yeah, like my girlfriend watching that as well. You know, it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty special. I actually went to the All Ireland final later, and Tipperary won, which is like really special. I won't go into like another rant about this, but like hurling's such a special sport. And yeah, I went to a Rauw Alejandro concert. He is a reggaetonero from Puerto Rico, not from the Dominican Republic. So he was in Madrid here, and we went to that. It's pretty amazing, man. So yeah, a lot of activities. I want to go into something here. So I go to like, you know, San Fermin and Pamplona. This is where like the bull running happens, right? So that like special part of the north of Spain, really, really cool spot. I want to just stop here and take a moment, right? And just say some weird things were going on in my mind this year, right? So I was 26 for the majority of the year. I felt time speeding up to like a scary extent. Now, what I mean by this is like, I got to July here and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what happened here, right? So like, come here, like go to the All Ireland final, Tipperary win, and then like this time problem emerges, right? Like, so I'm having a great time, and I was like, fucking hell, like I remember parts of June last year, like they were June this year. Like it was like that. It wasn't like water cooler talk in the office where it's August and you're like, oh, how are we at August? You know, trying to make conversation. It was like I was in August and I was like, what the fuck, man? I was like, what is happening? I was frightened. I was actually frightened. I was like, how can I make time slow down? I eventually figured this out through some trial and error. But I was like, yeah, like, well, yesterday I was 24, or like, you know, well, yesterday I was 22. You know, at this point, you know, I'm 26 in this part of the year. I'm now 27. But I was like, you know, if you've ever seen the clip of Jose Mourinho talking to Dele Alli when Jose Mourinho was the Tottenham Hotspur manager. And he's kind of saying to Dele Alli, look, you have this amazing talent, you're 20 years old. And he's like, Jose Mourinho is like, don't think that this will last forever, and don't think that you're always going to be at the top of the game. Dele Alli's massively fallen off now, actually. He said, you were 20, yeah? And Dele Alli nods, he's like, yeah. Mourinho says, yesterday I was 20. And you can see, oh man, it gives me chills, that clip. But I was like, yesterday I was 22. If I'm 26 now, that means tomorrow I will be 30, by that logic. So I was like, what the hell is happening? So I had a trip already planned to Ibiza with some of my friends. This me here with some of the boys walking through Dublin after Tipperary won. And, you know, I already had this. And let me actually, Flaneuring trips needs its proper A. Yeah. I'd already had this booked, but like I was here in August and I was like freaked out. I was like, where is the year gone? Like, where is all the time gone? Like, this year feels like it's been about 6 weeks long. And so we go here. Here's me with some of the boys. Man, Ibiza is sick, man. It is sick. It is world class partying. I realize I don't want to go back again unless I'm doing it like very expensively. Don't really know if it's worth it. It is a very pricey place as well, to be honest. Like you will feel it. But what I decided to do was like, let's like manufacture a core memory here. So I was like, where can I go and just like do some like weekend fucking trips around and just be a flaneur? Flaneur is basically a man who just saunters about observing society. Not even like walks around, he saunters around the place, right? And I was like, I need to just put some like memories on the map here. Do you know what I mean? I just need to do some shit. So went to Paris Thursday through Sunday. Last year, if you saw my review, one of my best friends from growing up won an Olympic bronze medal in Paris. Really special moment in rowing. I actually used to do rowing with him. The one that got away, you know. Maybe I'll talk about like my rowing days as well, because I was like, you know, pretty decent rower back in my teenage years. But I fucking loved Paris, man. Like I love cities like that, you know. I love Paris, love London. You know, obviously love Madrid. You know, Dublin is growing on me as well, as time goes on. But anyways, I was like, okay, like I just went back, boat cruises, doing my own thing, and I went out in like a Lime bike, and I was just cycling around the place for hours. I went out to actually where like the Modern Warfare 3 map Resistance is. I don't know if anyone knows this. This is just like the gym going really well here. Like I said, I'm like built like a string bean, and I was doing like close grip bench press with like 110 kg here. For reps, and like that's never been the case. Oh, look at this! Forgot about this. Don't know why I included this. It's just like a funny clip. Like the Seine, I was going around this in these like boat buses as well, which is fucking sick. The Seine is such a cool river. There's a really cool documentary if you guys ever want to look it up, or just any documentary about how they kind of made the banks of the Seine. Like, you know, when you see these in European cities and you have these stone banks, it's often like they've made rivers deeper and narrower. That's often what happens, and so, you know, rivers, you know, going back in time, they're kind of a bit marshy at the edges, and so people, you know, used to place, you know, big foundations into those, and then would deepen the riverbed, and then actually just making it narrower forces that same body of water, because it still flows from the source in the same quantity. It just makes it, you know, deeper water. So yeah, really really cool city, Paris. Here's Spike, very famous picture taken there. If you know, you know. But yeah, so I went around here, and I just decided, look, like I'm unplugging, and I'm just gonna cycle around here for like fucking 4 days, and love a Lime bike. You know, there are a few pleasures in life, you know, as great as going around a big European city on a fucking Lime bike, and just, you know, come what may, you know, and just kind of have a playfulness, and like let the day take you wherever it goes, and just enjoy it all. Had this conversation then on the banks of the River Seine. How iconic. Where I was kind of saying to the guys, you know, I was talking with this AI agency, and I was kind of like, look, what makes a good service business fundamentally? I would say, right, like I can be a bit of an idiot in many respects, but I have a good assessment of like being able to look at a business and look at where the big lever is, as in to look at what are the things that don't really matter to do, and like look at what the big levers are. And I was like, right, so like just analyzing a service business, let's just take this back to like first principles of a service business almost. What makes a good service business? Okay, well, first thing a good service business does is it is as close to revenue as possible, meaning it generates a shitload of revenue. Example, right? If like something is close to revenue in e-commerce is ad creative, right? So you can charge a lot for it, because if you're good at it, you can generate your brands a ton of money. So you can charge them more money as a result of that, right? So that's what I mean by close to revenues, and you make revenue happen. The second thing, it's naturally month to month, right? So it naturally leads to a recurring retainer, right? Third thing, you need a small team to fulfill it. If you look at SMMA as a trend back in 2018, it's like very high up in all of these three. That's why it took off so much. It's actually a very good business model. If I look at an email marketing agency or retention marketing agency in my own case, close to revenue, probably give it like a 6 out of 10 there. Just because, like, you know, your meta is like the kings, the queens, the whole family, right, for ecom. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10 here. Naturally recurring, I'll give it a 9 here. Give it a maybe more. and then kind of needs a small team. I'd probably give it a 6 there, because you do need really skilled team members. You need more team members to do it, so it can get a bit complex. But like, I mean, you had these guys, charging ad spend deals and keeping people for 10 months, and they had like one media buyer, and that was their whole team. Like, you had that in 2020, and these guys were making shitloads of money. AI agencies, this is like going back to my point of why most people are making their money in info there. AI agency is like pretty low on all three of those. It's not very repeatable. Like, it's like project work. You need very skilled, expensive people to do it, and it's more about cost cutting than it is about increasing revenue. So it's actually not a very good service business model. Like, it was such a pain in the ass to actually run. And I was like, bro, like, I just want to do ecom, and I've always wanted to do ecom. So we decided to start up some stores in October, and I'll get into those. Like, early stages, like, we're like profitable one day, unprofitable the next, like as of right now. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm really, really excited for what might come there. So yeah, I was just like, why are we doing this fucking business? And it was a tough conversation. People who know me personally know I don't love conflict. I do try to avoid it. It's necessary to be a business owner sometimes, but like, I don't love conflict. It's not my natural state to argue at all. And so for me, having a conversation with the guys when I thought that they were very into running this business, I sort of thought I was, maybe like kind of pissing on everyone's Cheerios a bit, but it's great we were all aligned there, and I had a great time in Paris. So I actually got invited to the Dominican Republic for a wedding, and it was just so sick. I'll try and speed this video up. I'm at 36 minutes. So we go to Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, and like, time wasn't slowing really at all. I was still freaked out at this point, and this trip just feels like a fever dream, to be honest. I don't even really remember it. Part of me feels like I have like dementia on so many of these trips, but Dominican Republic's a sick country, man. It's really, really cool. And yeah, just had a great time there. And it was like being in, like, if you guys, like, if you have anyone here listens to Bad Bunny, Un Verano Sin Ti, one of the best things I've ever listened to in my entire life. His biggest album, fucking sick. I'm a massive Drake fan, right? But as an album, Drake's never made anything like that. Because Drake puts out an album like these days, and like 2 songs are good, and like 12 could have just not been released. Don't know why he does that. Like, just release the good ones, man. Anyway, so then I go to New York in September. I plan to do this because some of our clients, some printers who, like, I mean, people will probably recognize, maybe people recognize who some of these printers are if you're in the ecom space. Some Australian printers. They were there, and I was like, hey, like, I'll come and meet you guys, and like very good friends with those guys. So like, I was like, yeah, like, I'll come and meet you in New York. And landed early September, stayed in Manhattan. New York's sick, bro. Like, New York, it's sort of, I always say the major cities in the US have one defining word, right? Or like the major areas even, because I'm kind of thinking of Southern California here, which is like a major area. They have one word that sort of defines them, and you sound like a college bro when you say them. But like, Miami is just the energy, bro. It's just the energy. It's energy. The energy is sick. In California, in Southern California, you're gonna hate me for this. Some of you are gonna vomit in your mouths here, but like, it's just the vibes. It's just like the vibes, bro. It's just the vibes in Southern California. And New York, it's just sick. And you might be like, oh, like, well, New York has XYZ problems. Why do you think New York's sick? It's just a self-evidently true statement. New York's just fucking sick. It's sick because it's sick. So yeah, like, the US Open time of year, like, I mean, it's warm there. Everyone's having a good time. Like, it's just, maybe I got like rose tinted glasses view of it. I know New York gets freezing cold in winters. It is crazy. It's a crazy city. There are like guys just like strung out and like fentanyl or whatever who'll just scream at you in the street. If you're paying $8,000 a month in rent, you'd ideally not have that happen, but it might be the greatest city in the world. So I just go out with the clients. We're like, this isn't like a Manhattan like top floor nightclub. This was such a sick night, man. Like, once again, I keep saying sick. You're probably like, is this what a bro. And then here, meeting more clients like in their stores here. We met like 4 clients there in New York, and it's so gratifying. We'll keep this topic going, but time's still not slowing down at this point. So yeah, I went to the final of the US Open. So I went to 2 separate. I went to the semi-final. I saw Novak Djokovic against Alcaraz, and then saw Alcaraz Sinner in the final. this was a bucket list moment for me to see Djokovic. A hill I will die on is that I think Novak Djokovic is the greatest athlete of all time in any sport. I'll defend that point against anyone. I just love Djokovic, man, and he's just such a G. You know, stands up for his beliefs, and you know, gets booed by crowds, and he just always comes out on top. You know, like, you gotta love Djokovic. Just a special human being, and like, just a gentle soul as well, like a good person. Come back to Ireland from New York, and we start getting into we go back to the Irish e-commerce awards with Daniel from our team, and then Shane Legend from Dataships, one of our software partners, absolute legend. Chris Pints of Guinness, beautiful stuff. And yeah, like, I had this phase, like, you know, like that August, September, it was kind of like a lot of movement, and yeah, like, I just kind of decided to move around like that, and experience it all. Come back here. These are like the products for our first brand, and like, we're kind of discussing these like logistics costs with our 3PL in China, which is pretty sick. And yeah, I was just like doing some cool stuff around Ireland. We didn't win an award at those Irish Ecom Awards, but that's okay. And then yeah, just back for some like family stuff, which was cool in like the countryside in Ireland, which is always sick. So we start working on our e-commerce brand. I fucked up with some of these pictures here. They should be lower, but whatever. First $500 day, that's profitable, and then that was like the best feeling. You know what's funny, man, right? So like, I sometimes think about this, and anyone I'm sure a lot of people feel this way in business. I'm not going to say anyone, but I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. Your first wins, like, nothing compares to them. Like, the first time we signed like a proper e-commerce brand, this is in like 2020, like, I say 20, yeah, it's like September, October 2021. And I mean like a proper brand where like proper team, scaling, like proper brand guide, like, you know, and like a real professional outfit. I mean, we didn't even sign them for that much money, but like, for me to get the high that I got when signing them now, something amazing would have to happen. And it's sort of like that first $500 day when all those sales are coming in, especially in ecom, because, you know, it's not the same level of a high in an agency, because, you know, like, you sign a client like that and then you're like, oh fuck, like, what am I gonna do? The dread soon comes in after, because you're like, oh wow, now I need to rise up to this, and I you know, I've never done this before, so maybe I won't be able to. But this, when you're like, damn, like, I just spend money on ads and like sales come in, and you think it's scalable. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. It's just insane. It's like a fucking drug, you know. So having it our first 1K day, we're doing like $300 a day, because we actually shut down the store that we did this on, because we didn't think it could be really, really scalable. And bro, we have made some big changes in our ad account, which is kind of killing us today and yesterday, but whatever. This is like, I love my agency, and like, we're still like, I continue loving my agency, like, and I love the clients that we work with, but there is an element of ecom where you're just like, damn, like, I probably just increase the ad spend and I'd make more money. Like, it's as simple as clicking a button and you make more money. It's pretty crazy. So we did this vlog for my birthday. We go to Real Madrid Champions League game. The Bernabeu is just elite, man. You know, get these balloons from my girlfriend. I went out for Halloween dressed as John Cena. Oh man, we know Jacob, who, anyway, if you're into ecom, you'll like, he's Jacob, who's on a podcast on the channel here. He came out with us, and like, yeah, like, we got a table in this club, dressed like John Cena, and like, I was just fucking mad. Around this time, bro, right? So this is like a different hour. This video might hit an hour. God, I'll try and speed this up. But around this time, in like the end of September, just to try and go into this, I kind of got like way back into like Christianity. I was raised as like a Catholic, like going to mass every Sunday and shit. Did like peer ministry in my secondary school, and I always did have like belief to an extent. But I did have a phase when I was younger where I was kind of like the rebellious, like fucking atheist who's like seen a Richard Dawkins video and then reads the God Delusion and it's like, oh, you guys actually believe in a man in the sky, and like, you know, I was like that kind of like atheist genius 12-year-old. You all know the type. And like, here's what I've like come to believe, I think, about Christianity. Great book called Dominion by Tom Holland. Read that book, incredible book. But like a lot of the things that we think is obvious, like, right, so if you think of like the Roman Empire, Greek and the Greeks, a lot of like, particularly the Romans, let's isolate the Romans here for a second. A lot of our infrastructure comes from them. Roads, aqueducts, you know, sewerage, all this kind of stuff comes from the Romans. So actually, our, like, you know, infrastructurally we can say we're not a million miles away from how they were, but morally we're a million miles away from how they were. The average person, it was not thought that the average person had any dignity. It was thought, right, you're a plebeian or a patrician. You're born a plebeian. Look, you're just destined to be there, bro. Like, I would, you know, the gods decided that I was above you from birth. We almost can't imagine a world like that. We actually, it's actually tough to imagine a world like that. I'd say nigh on impossible. And also what unified all the gods in ancient Rome, and what really made them gods, was their ability to exert tyrannical force over human beings and do basically to do horrible shit to humans, whether it's making Sisyphus push a rock up a hill for the rest of his life and whatever, you know, or whatever kind of torture apparatus they came up with. And so this is all to say, if that's what defines a god, then the society is basically determined as all good comes from power. All good comes from power. We believe, because we live in, right, and you mightn't think you believe this, but you definitely do, even if you're not a Christian as such, or you don't consider yourself to be one. We believe that all good comes from love and from truth. That's actually fundamentally what's at the root of Western civilization. This means the average person has dignity. You know, obviously Jesus spent most of his time, well, not most of his time, but well, maybe most of his time with the outcasts of society, lepers and tax collectors and prostitutes and the destitute. And he said many times, I've like, you know, my Bible behind me, and this is how I was raised, and didn't really, you know, get it, I suppose, at the time. But Jesus always said that, you know, the destitute have most and easiest access to the kingdom of God. When you're young, you're like, what's this guy on about? It's like so abstract that it's like really far away from you. And also he says some things where you're like, well, yeah, everyone knows that, but they only know that because Jesus existed. I'm saying this more from a historical perspective. Jesus Christ is the most consequential human being to have ever lived. I personally believe he was a human being of like skin and bone, right? Of like flesh and bone. And like, I just think he changed the moral landscape of the world, where like, you know, he was born in the Roman Empire. And you know, every historian out there, including like Muslims and Jewish historians, are in agreement that he lived and was crucified. Like, there's more historical evidence that Jesus existed than Napoleon existed. Not even joking. Basically, all good comes from love and seeking truth. When you actually think about that, like, you could dive into that and have a chat with Claude or ChatGPT on this if you want. But like, that's as true for me as saying 1 + 1 = 2. Like, I think I could defend that against like Christopher Hitchens. Like, I think I could actually do that. Could I defend that there's an omnipotent God? Like, no, bro, I could not fucking defend that. And so, what I think with Christianity, I think atheists and really devoutly religious people have the same problem, which is that they take religion too literally. You know what I mean? They're actually two sides of the same coin. It's sort of like a horseshoe again, right? Like, the atheists and really devoutly Christian people are actually really, really close to one another. So anyway, I did this kind of religious retreat with the Catholic Church. And you get a lot of people who just want to believe, and like, I kind of, you know, it was a mixed bag, I guess, that retreat, in a sense, and that I was like, you know, came out of it and it was really good and really revealing. But also you're kind of like, right, it's like one day some person just wakes up and like, the Spirit of God enters them and now they're a believer, and I'm like, stall the ball here for a second, let's back up a few steps. How did that happen? How did you go from non-believer to believer? And so for me, I kind of logicked my way back into this, where like, I just think, you know, the principles that Jesus Christ told human beings to live by have stood the test of time. They've literally lived 2,000 years. Like, they've gone through all manner of trials and tribulations, and they've still stayed around. Right? They've gone into, there's a bit of a regression that's going on now, but they will absolutely be back. I promise you that, because it's like they've proven their fitness for survival. Do you get what I mean by that? Like they're so it's more like a rough set of heuristics, like rules of thumb to live your life by, and it seems to be the best one that anyone's ever made because it's lasted 2,000 years, bro. Like that's a lot of time, you know. And so I think he was a human being, if I'm very honest, right? Like I don't necessarily like because like right, even like there are conflicting, you know, accounts in the Gospels, right? Like in the Gospel according to Mark, which is the oldest one, and like actually according to Matthew and Luke, they actually use Mark as a primary source. So like Mark was like the closest. It was written like maybe 50 years or like maybe 20 years after Jesus' death. In the Gospel of Mark, the resurrection of Jesus, there was no one there to see it. So like, and then in the Gospel according to John, I think maybe it's John or maybe it's Luke, I don't know. Like it says it has like a ridiculous story about like the resurrection, saying that there were like people the size of like the size of giants that like came out of the tomb with Jesus and stuff like all this kind of shit, right? But I was raised a Catholic and all that kind of stuff, but like I don't think the Eucharist is literally Jesus Christ's body. Like that's, to me, that's kind of preposterous, to be honest. But great heuristics, and make society better if implemented the right way. Don't even think that's opinion. I think that's just objectively true. So yeah, late October, my friend Ben dies, and that was fucking impactful, man. I miss him to this day. I pray for him every night, like literally every night since, along with a close friend of mine who died in 2023. Both of which I feel I miss all the time. I put it at the end of the vlog. I did like a little kind of tribute to him. The main one, man, to be honest, and just as I'm going through 2026, is like I'm just actively enjoying my consciousness these days. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but I just realize it's not a given, and I'm just going through things and I'm like, I'll be eating nice food, or I'll be like even having like my heating on in my apartment, and just to have like a cold Coke Zero as I'm allowed to just do stuff on the internet and make money from it. I'm just like, man, that's like, this is all, it's all so nice, isn't it? Like this is, I read a lot about the history of Irish people and their travails around the world. I read a lot about the famine and the conditions that people lived in back then, and I'm like, wow, like the vast majority of Irish history has been so brutal. The average Irishman who went over to work in the docks in the eastern seaboard of the US, particularly in cities such as Boston and New York, from when they left the boat. Bear in mind, these are men in like their late teens up to like early 30s, like strong men in the prime of their lives. The average life expectancy getting off the boat was 7 years. There's a huge agenda in Ireland these days to try and, I don't know, say we're privileged or whatever. I've made a lot of statements. I've made some statements in this video, haven't I? But we're like, I go through Irish history and I'm like, wow, man, like I'm just such a privileged motherfucker. Like to be able to live life the way I am, it's just it's amazing. Like it's just random things now these days, and it's like happening all the time where I'm just like, oh man, like just the heat is on in this apartment, I'm able to just talk to people through the internet and like make a fucking Loom video. Like how, like even Loom, like how is this even a thing? To be able to do podcasts with these people who like I find really interesting, flying to Amsterdam and like with my business partners and going through all the e-com stuff, and yeah, like doing stuff with Jacob and all that. And now, like, I think a big thing from this is like I want to do more content and like not to provide value necessarily, because like I actually am not a big consumer of podcasts, to be honest. I just want to do like behind closed doors chats, low production value, intimate chats, and like not to make a meal out of it, because like in podcasts you often I'll make a video at this with my friend Paul, who's actually going to come on the podcast. He's like a massive e-com entrepreneur, but he's a very interesting video about kind of how a lot of what you get on podcasts isn't sauce at all, and people never really share that. So like most information is inherently slop, and we'll talk about this podcast or talk about this topic on the podcast, and you'll enjoy it. He's doing like hundreds of millions a year in revenue, so like he's a good guy to listen to, and a lot of you know who he is. So yeah, I went to Amsterdam. Amsterdam's a sick city, and yeah, just kind of back in Madrid, full time here from January 2026, and yeah, like I'm just really enjoying doing what I'm doing. We grew the agency a lot, and this time we're at 39 team members now, and we're actually going to cut back our client count this year. I'll go into the lessons of the year here, but we're actually going to cut down our client count and do a lot more for our clients. So yeah, we go back to Dublin, Christmas team dinner, locking in with a pint of Guinness here, one of our team members here in Temple Bar and stuff like that. Back with family, swimming on Christmas Day, and going around the beach on Christmas Day. Love being home for Christmas, man. Eating a breakfast roll here. It's at $6.95 for a breakfast roll. Damn, we're at €7 breakfast rolls now. Goodness gracious. Spent basically all of December in Ireland. And yeah, on that, enjoying the consciousness bit. Just want to be around my people a bit more. You only get one mother, one father. You only get one set of day one friends. Some of mine are dead or live far away. Not to be morbid, but like I want to enjoy my consciousness with the people who shaped it. And like we're all inherently shaped by that environment. And like I noticed this from living in Spain, because like you're even expressing things to people in Spanish. Like I speak fluent Spanish, but it's like I learned it as an adult. It goes deep. Like my subconscious was created in English, and it was actually created in my pocket of rural Ireland, and that's inherently the way you're shaped. So you actually don't express things the same way. It's funny going back and chatting to my people, and it's like you can tell that the words that come out of you, you can tell they're expressing the exact same impulse in your brain. It's like the way your brain like interfaces with language is the exact same as theirs. It's a very specific thing. It's a weird thing I'm describing, but for me it's very satisfying. And for me, when I'm back with my bros and back with my day one people, and here with like my brother and here with my family, it's very weird. It's funny, like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree at all. And yeah, that was pretty cool. On to the lessons for all 7 of the people who are still here watching. Vehicle is everything. The AI agency was not a good idea. And like just going on to e-com brands here, if you're really good at making ads, you can scale things really quickly. And like, I'll give it like a Hyundai versus a McLaren, right? Like you could be let's say you're in a Hyundai, you race versus a McLaren. Doesn't matter how good of a driver you are, doesn't matter how hard you push down on that pedal, the McLaren will beat you. It is the vehicle is different. E-com, so many things can go wrong. Obviously a McLaren is more liable to spin out of control as well, right? So it's actually quite a good analogy here. Right, I could optimize, and I will optimize the agency, and we're already growing in 2026, which is great, and we will grow it and do more for our clients and just work with more Chad Skater brands, like I said. But if I got an e-com brand to 100k a day, which is my main goal for the year, it's just like the impact of that is like it's just so much bigger. Should have been investing way sooner in wealth and fitness. I will make a bit, like, once again, if guys want me to do a fitness video, I can do that. Guys, like if you're making money online, just invest it, please. Don't buy that fucking car. Don't like, a watch is an investment, right? So a watch is fine, but still don't overspend on watches, because they're not as liquid as some people think. Don't be buying fancy clothes and fancy dinners and spending all your cash and stupid stuff, buying bottles in the club all the time. Enjoy that stuff. Have your vices, of course, but please invest. So yeah, always like just think, how can you make the rest of your life way easier? It's not guaranteed just because you've had a good couple of years online. It's not guaranteed things will continue that way. So invest. Life is short, money is overvalued. I did this through AI, so like that's why it's in American English. So this is killing me, but like. Every man has 2 lives, and the second begins when he realizes he only has one. 2025 was the year I realized. 2 of my close friends passed away in the last couple of years. No amount of money will bring them back, and they were both. Life is strange, eh? Life is a strange thing. They were both. Everyone's special, but these were 2 very special human beings, like very, very special human beings. And my friend Luke died when I was 24. God rest him. And I was too young then to become conscious of how short life is. Like, even there's a little bit of a difference between me and 24 and 27. At 27, when my friend Ben passed away, it just like I knew, I was like, geez man, like I was like, wow, like this isn't a dress rehearsal, like this is the real thing. And I only get one of these, and God willing, I have a big plan. Like, there's a documentary I want to make early next year. and March 2027 that I'm planning out now, and I have to get a lot of people involved for it, like Louis Theroux, Anthony Bourdain style. And part of me is even thinking like, damn, what if I'm not alive to do that? What if something happens? What if I get hit by a bus? Or what if I get, fucking have a heart attack? I actually did a heart scan after my friend Ben died. But like, so many things, I'm just way more chill about it now. I'm like, love growing the agency and all that, but like I realize I've always wanted to do e-com, and it's just like, bro, like I've been saying in my head for many things, I'm like, life's too short not to do it. Now you got to get yourself in order financially, right? Like you got to focus on that, but like life's fucking short, bro. Like if you want to do something, like right, I don't want to say just be irresponsible and reckless, but like, if you want to do something, just do it. Like if you want to, if you're thinking of having a kid or something, just have the kid, man. This isn't a dress rehearsal. Like it's not like, this isn't you preparing for something to come. You're in the game already. Like it's not. This isn't a training session. You're on the pitch in the Champions League final. And yeah, I just want to live life in a way where nothing chokes my calendar, and e-com is really the way to do that. So like for me with money, I'm like, just gonna like grind and make more, and like I could make a lot more in the agency over the course of a couple of years, but I really want to like be on equal terms with my clients and give them deeper consulting and like do events with people and be really plugged into the e-com community, and then have my agency like working really well and really love the agency because I have the contrast versus the e-com brand. It's like work 2 hours a day more for 20% higher income just to live in a slightly bigger box, drive a slightly faster car. It's like, that just seems silly to me now. Like that's like, you have one bout of consciousness in your life, and it's like you're just gonna like you have this miracle of 85 years of consciousness, and you're gonna spend a big portion of it acting like a dress rehearsal. That doesn't really seem right to me. Obviously, to an extent, if you're crushing it, you're 22, 23 listening to this. If you grind like a motherfucker until age 27, yeah, you'll get to 27 and you'll be like, I'm saying this having come through like the really tough period of really building my agency up to having 60 plus clients, and to having the network that I do. Could just go to like the Kilconomics Festival, chat to Nassim Taleb, my favorite author ever, and just like, do that. Like life's short, especially if you're ahead financially. Just keep a fucking hammering, bro. So 2026 commitment, committed to enjoying my consciousness. I'm just glad to be conscious and enjoying the miraculous experience of this world, and it's just a blessing, and I thank God for this literally every night. Time problem. The solution here was getting closer to family, flaneuring, and then just doing more like random things day to day to vary up your routine. What I actually found was I was really locked in for a lot of the year, and it's just like at my desk, and yeah, like just having like manufacturing memories going around on a Lime bike, and like going home for Christmas, and like actually getting time away from work and having days that were, and like periods. If you have like a couple of weeks where you're not as locked in on work, that like it confines into your brain as a period of time that you had there that was different to your normal routine. So it's more about getting periods of weeks where they're quite different to what you were doing. So yeah, central dashboard system. I will probably show this at some point, but I have like the best memory in the world and the worst memory in the world. I mean, I have like I wonder, can I show this? Yeah, I actually can show this. So I'll get this up on screen here. So like I have like all of my year planned out here in a timeline view now in Notion, and I mean, I often like will agree to things without knowing that I can do them. Like, as in I'll be like, oh yeah, like oh, do you want to do this thing on this date? I'll be like, yeah, of course. Like I'll remember random facts from history books I read back when I was in primary school, and then I'll double book myself like on a Saturday while it's like Thursday. Like I will do shit like that. So yeah, now I have everything kind of like planned out there, and I know roughly what's coming up, and like, yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna be able to do this. Most content is slop. I'll chat about this with Paul in a bit more depth, but basically, people like, if you look at like, there's a brand called with something superfoods. If you're in ecom, you know who it is. I just don't want to, like, the founder went to Harvard. Public story on podcast is like hard work, cracking angles, good product. But like, if you go to their checkout, you have like hidden rebuilds. Like you don't see you're being subscribed. Their Trustpilot is all like botted reviews. No bad reviews despite hidden rebuilds just doesn't make any sense. And it's like, the real lever in that business is like aggressive checkout practices with custom software you don't have access to, and payment processing relationships you don't have access to, and then connections at Trustpilot, and that allows them to run really aggressive shit. So like, no one's going to come onto a podcast and say, oh yeah, well, we were doing negative option subscription, people didn't know they were getting subscribed, and like we got up to like fucking $1 million MRR or whatever really quickly, and like no one's going to tell you that. No one's going to say that they ripped content and fucking it blew up and like they hit a lucky winner and got their store started that way. No one's going to tell you that. So on podcasts, I try to have good conversations with my guests, and like I try to get them away from, you know, topics where, you know, like where they might have to be disingenuous, because people start like in these kinds of ways with their businesses. I try to keep the conversations very honest and authentic, but like, you know, I try to just keep them good conversations, and you have to realize most podcast information is just slop. You're actually not getting the real story of how people got where they are. You know, I know an agency as well that has one person who's referred a huge percentage of all their clients, and the public story in podcasts is, oh, we're just good at content marketing and outreach, but you don't have access to the referral relationship, and that's what got them to where they are. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, once you see this, you start seeing it everywhere. So it's like, even if you have like Stephen Bartlett or whatever, like his story about his exit is embellished, right? You know, so it's just, but now, you know, it doesn't matter, because now he's used that story to catapult himself to a level of fame that it doesn't really matter. So yeah, e-commerce is a wild model. It's insane. Final thing. So goals: e-commerce brand, build a brand 100K a day. Agency, we're focusing on short-term video, short form video, and we're looking to grow, but just get a higher caliber of client, and more like the Checkout Champ style brand. And yeah, we will grow that a lot more as well this year. Full-time Madrid from now on, 2026. And then yeah, these are the rest of my commitments. Just kind of continue investing, continue going to mass, continue training, and make 2026 even better in 2025. Enjoy my consciousness, and just like be nice to people, and just be a good dude. That's kind of the plan, you know. You only get one life. So yeah, that's the one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll cap it there. Any questions, give me a shout. And yeah, I'm gonna have more content coming out here for like the podcast and the ecom series. Take care. Let's have a great year.